thank you for your patience there. We had like a teeny power outage in the studio, and you had technical difficulties yesterday, so 1 for 1, and now we're even.
You know what? It happens, Benny, and everybody knows how to roll with it. So right. I wouldn't worry about it at all.
Speaking of rolling with it, I'm not sure if you were watching President Trump's speech in Saudi Arabia. I know you're such a strong ally of the president. It's got to make you incredibly proud. It just looks like American dominance back on the menu, boys.
Yeah, absolutely. I watched the entire speech, and I was thrilled to see a Trump rally in Riyadh. I loved watching the president walk out to Lee Greenwood, and I loved the finish to the YMCA. And President Trump, you know, for those of us that have been going to Trump rallies for years and years now, I think I'm the member of Congress that holds the record here in Washington for going to Trump rallies. But I loved all the classic things. And I was watching, you know, he goes off script. We love when he goes off script. He shouts out to people in the audience, and he did that multiple times. And he also reminded everybody how handily he won the elections here in the United States, and carried on the same President Trump message that we know and love. It was fantastic.
So the president shouted you out during the speech. What an honor. Your bill renaming the Gulf of America. He shouted you out. By the way, we live on the Gulf of America, so a personal thank you from me and my family, because I get to take my kids to the Gulf of America. But it's your bill. The president just signed it, and he just shouted you out in Riyadh. That's pretty cool.
That is amazing. Absolutely amazing. And, you know, it's really the pride of America to change the name of the Gulf to the Gulf of America. And Benny, something that is so important about that is that not only does your family live there and many businesses thrive on the Gulf of America, it's also our United States Coast Guard that defends and secures the waters of the Gulf of America from drug trafficking and human trafficking that comes from the cartels in Mexico. So I think this was a really fun bill to pass last week in the House, and I was honored to be able to codify President Trump's executive order on Gulf of America.
So this is going to dovetail into something that I know has been a frustration for you, and a lot of people have been bubbling up about it. Certainly our chat on the show has been asking, where are all the bills exactly that should be on President Trump's desk? Executive orders are fantastic, but executive orders can be undone, as we watched the wreckage of President Biden. This is obviously something that has been a frustration. Can you give us an update as to what's going on with is Congress moving like painfully slow, too slow for you?
Yeah, you know, I had a couple of posts I made about 2 weeks ago go viral because as a Republican member of Congress, I went very vocal on my frustrations with the House and the Senate for their refusal to pass President Trump's executive orders. I was also the first to point out to everyone that here under President Trump's first 100 days, we only sent 5 bills to his desk. And one of them was a Biden Democrat policy and funding CR. However, Nancy Pelosi sent 11 bills to President Biden's desk in his first 100 days, and that included their reconciliation bill, which passed the Green New Deal, open border policies, extended many ridiculous COVID-era spending and policies, and so many more destructive things to the United States of America. And I think I was the first to call that one out publicly. And I've been real happy to see a lot of people posting that and publications writing about it and people talking about it, because I think it's shameful. And I think Republicans in the House and in the Senate should be ashamed that we have not passed President Trump's executive orders. We have not passed rescission cuts that DOJ has found. I mean, incredible amounts of waste, fraud, and abuse. And we haven't even defunded PBS and NPR after I held an explosive hearing on the DOJ subcommittee on oversight that I chair. And so, yes, I've been very vocal about it. And I'm keeping the pressure up here in Washington, D.C., because America overwhelmingly voted for President Trump's Agenda 47. And Republicans here in Washington don't get to hold power in their little kingdoms within the House and the Senate and refuse to pass the American people's agenda.
Can you explain to us, like from inside the room, like why the hell is this happening? We've been watching your work with the Doge Caucus. It's been fantastic. It's been a lot of fireworks, obviously. You and Jasmine, it's been, I would watch that live stream all day. But like, why exactly has this moved so slowly?
Well, Benny, I'll be real honest. It's Republicans in Washington that don't support MAGA, and they don't support President Trump's agenda that he campaigned on. And it's many Republicans in the House and the Senate that literally just ran and cozied up to Trump after he defeated everyone in the Republican primary during the 2024 election cycle, and then stomped Kamala Harris into the ground in November of 2024. And, then those Republicans came running, and they forgot real quick, in just a very quick amount of time, that we owe our House Republican majority and the Senate Republican majority to President Trump because of his campaign message, because of his amazing fight that he never stopped fighting, even after they shot him in the face in Butler, Pennsylvania, and tried to kill him again on his own golf course. And even after Democrats weaponized the justice system against him, tried to put him in jail for the rest of his life, tried to destroy his businesses, and tried to destroy practically every single person that worked for him and worked in the Trump administration. Republicans are the ones that have the quickest memory loss here in Washington, D.C., and they're too busy trying to push their own agendas, Benny. That's really the truth. They have run back to Tea Party politics. They have run back to being neocons. They have run back to establishment uniparty ways here in Washington. And so, yesterday when President Trump signed his massively historic executive order to reduce drug prices, the loudest voices you could hear in Washington were laughing about it, saying, oh, that'll never pass in the House and the Senate, because they refuse to do it. And so, I think the American people need a hard wake-up call, Benny, and I'm trying to be the one waking everyone up. The people that you donate to, the people that you knock doors for, the people that you pray get elected and then vote for during elections every 2 years, every 4 years, every 6 years, are not doing the job that they promise you. And I, as one member of Congress, cannot force them to do it. It's literally going to take all of you, the American people, to force these colleagues I work with, to force the establishment uniparty, to force the establishment Republican Party to get on the program and do the job that you people told them to do.
It's incredible how you have to pull teeth just to get President Trump's appointments into office, and they had to pull Ed Martin's appointment.
Yeah, can you
imagine? Which is such a humiliation.
Can you imagine these senators actually refuse? Let me tell you, let me get it real straight right here. These are the same senators that voted to confirm Merrick Garland, that went after parents who were trying to hold their school boards accountable, that arrested abortion protesters peacefully protesting the murder of the unborn. This is Merrick Garland that weaponized the justice system against President Trump and January 6th defendants, MAGA grandmas that happened to just walk in the Capitol and thank police officers and just say, God bless America. And they did it on video on their Facebook pages for like 30 seconds. That's who they confirmed in the Senate. You know who else they confirmed? They also confirmed Alejandro Mayorkas, Benny, that opened up our borders and allowed America to be flooded with millions and millions of illegal aliens, terrorists, and cartels. Alejandro Mayorkas was the best business partner the cartels could ever ask for. And I'm the only one that was able to get him impeached in the House when I forced that vote on the House floor.
Okay. So what you just said there, Congresswoman, taking a step back, there's a perfect opportunity for Republicans to prove that they are backing law enforcement, that they are backing the blue, that they are the party of law and order. And here it is. There's a member of Congress named LaMonica McIver. And here she is on DHS sent us this footage. This is the body cam footage of her punching, hitting, kicking, shoving, elbowing, and assaulting a federal officer. Why is she still in Congress? Now, more importantly, and I know this is going to be, take a vote and so on and so forth to kick her out,
Right.
but more importantly, Congresswoman, why hasn't Republican leadership come out and said this is not becoming of a member of Congress? We are ripping her off her committees. We are going to lock her office and not give her the keys. She's not welcome back in the bill. Like, there are ways to there's ways to start the process of humiliation and to keep the heat up. And the DHS has been sending us this footage and had been doing all the messaging on here. Where's Republican leadership? And I'll tell you, I asked I asked Speaker Johnson's office, and I got nothing, zero.
Wow. Well, let me rewind the clock a little bit. I was one of the Republican members of Congress that literally went to the DC jail multiple times in 2021 and 2022, demanding oversight of that jail because it's under the jurisdiction of Congress here in the District of Columbia. And I never fought with any police officers. I never busted my way in and refused to leave. As a matter of fact, I got turned away every single time at the door and never got to go in that jail until November of 2021 when they allowed me to come in for a tour. So there's a dramatic difference in the two. And no matter how you feel about former Speaker Kevin McCarthy, he kicked Ilhan Omar and Adam Schiff off of their committees, and they needed to be kicked off. So our Speaker of the House should hold these members accountable that fought with law enforcement, because guess what, Benny? This week in Washington, D.C., ironically, is Police Week. Of all weeks in Washington, we're celebrating Police Week, where we honor fallen police officers, we honor their families, and we honor the greatest men and women in our country, which are our police officers and law enforcement, who work very hard and are paid very little for the job that they do. But yes, here in the House, here's some options for Speaker Johnson. He can remove them from their committees and kick them off. They do not deserve these responsibilities when they disrespect the law and fight police officers and fight ICE, who are responsible for deporting illegal aliens, terrorists, and criminal cartel members. That would be one option. Another option is we can censure them on the House floor. That requires a House vote and a majority vote to do so. And then a third option would be expelling them from Congress, which is what was done to George Santos. And that would require a 2/3 vote in the House. And I can assure you we would never get that vote, because we don't have 2/3 Republican majority. We barely have a majority at all. So those are the options that can be done. And I think that's up to the Speaker, and he should be leading the way on that.
I'm just saying that there's a moment in time where you need leadership and you need to hit that iron while it's hot, as they say.
Yes, absolutely.
And when a member of Congress is behaving like this, it's incumbent upon the Speaker to say, you're wrong and you're going to be punished to the best. I can't arrest you. DHS will arrest her, but like, the Speaker needs to say something.
Imagine if I had done that. Imagine if I had busted my way in to the DC jail, pushed and shoved, elbowed, and refused to leave, and fought the police officers there at that jail. Imagine what Nancy Pelosi, imagine what Merrick Garland of the Department of Justice, and imagine what the Democrats would have done to me.
Congresswoman, you'd be in prison.
Yeah, they kicked me off of committees. And I had all the Democrats voted for that, and 11 Republicans went along with it as well. So, it's sometimes our own party is the problem.
Yes, sometimes our own party is the problem. There does seem to be a concerted effort. This bubbled up in the news quite a bit over the last week when it comes to just not asking any questions about some touchy subjects. Epstein has been in the news over the past week. There have been some interesting revelations from the DOJ, but no member of Congress seems to want to ask questions about this. I find it ironic that Dick Durbin, who was the major Epstein cover-up artist, he decided to just get out of town and leave. And a number of people who potentially could be implicated in this just are behaving guilty as hell, but there just isn't any efforting, right, to get this job done and to get some justice for the victims here, and to punish major criminals. Can you comment on this? Pam Bondi saying that there's tens of thousands of videos of underage, presumably women, being abused in these videos. maybe even American presidents on those videos. Why are we protecting them exactly?
You know, Benny, you did a great job yesterday. I was able to watch a lot of your coverage on that. And so I thought you did a really good job. And one of the things you said that I thought was so important is you said, by no means do we want any type of pornography released to the public. Yeah. And I fully agree with you on that. And we have to, you know, and they're protecting the victims. And we also don't believe in releasing that type of evidence or footage out publicly. It's horrendous. It's disgusting, and all the victims have to be protected. However, there are many powerful people that were captured, so to speak, through Jeffrey Epstein. He was basically a honey trap for all of these rich and powerful people, whether they were elected officials, whether they were from a certain royal family, or no matter, or business people, powerful business people. Those are the people that the American people deserve to know about. Those are the people that I demand to know about. And those are the people that need to be exposed. However, they've been protected and hidden for a very long time. And I cannot answer why that has been the case. And it should never be the case. I want to go a step further, Benny. While Kash Patel and Pam Bondi say they are reviewing all the footage through the FBI and working to get this evidence out to the American people, I certainly hope they do so. And I'm expecting them to do so. And I think everyone should be expecting them to do so. But I'll weigh in on something that James Comer said to you is, you know, the Trump administration just got in power a few months ago. We have no idea what evidence there was maybe before the Biden administration left. We have no idea what the evidence was years ago because we weren't in charge of it. However, I will remind everybody about all those shredding trucks that set out in front of the Department of Justice and set out in front of other agencies and departments. And so it's of my personal opinion is I do wonder how much evidence has been destroyed over the years or say recently by the Biden administration because it's their friends and the people they cozy up with that would probably be exposed through the Epstein client list or the Epstein list of people that he had very embarrassing evidence on. So that's just me wondering out loud, is a lot of it left? Yeah, there's a great picture. Shredding trucks. Those were there for multiple weeks in multiple departments and agencies here in Washington, D.C. after Trump won the election in November and before we took over and President Trump was sworn in late January. So that's just me wondering out loud how much evidence is really there. And another thing is, why has it been held back for so many years? I think that's the question that everybody wants to know, and transparency should be given. And then lastly, Benny, I'll say this. I don't think that it's the United States government is the only government that has information on Jeffrey Epstein. I think there are other governments that are our allies as well that definitely have maybe even worse damning evidence on Jeffrey Epstein and the people that he brought in his circles with his disgusting sexual abuse and pornography. So I would call out some of our allies, maybe Israel, maybe the UK. I think there's other countries that definitely have information. And, you know, maybe people should take a play out of the great Milei's of Argentina's playbook. Like, he just released the information about Adolf Hitler actually leaving Germany and escaping to Argentina, staying there for approximately 20 years before he died. Isn't it funny how history all lied to us for so many years? Well, maybe some of our allies in foreign countries would also release the information that they have on Jeffrey Epstein and the people that he brought in his circles.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be great. We see that Jeffrey Epstein stays inside of royal lodges and was invited to royal weddings. Yep. Ghislaine Maxwell was at Bill Clinton's wedding. Ghislaine Maxwell's father was a Mossad agent, was working for the nation of Israel, got a state funeral there, and then was eulogized by the prime minister of Israel, saying that the world will never know what he truly did for us. It was like, well, all right. I mean, this sure does seem like a honeypot, like an intel operation.
Absolutely.
Right? Like it's kind of obvious. And Matt Gaetz is on our program, made a lot of news saying that he thought that it was a foreign nation that was allowed to go kill Epstein in a jail cell. Since you brought it up, Congresswoman, I just might as well ask your former colleague, Matt Gaetz. That's what he's told us. What do you think?
Well, it's of my opinion, and I don't have evidence to back it up, but I don't think that he killed himself. I don't. I just don't believe that, and I would not be surprised if a foreign country came in and was allowed to murder him in his cell. Nothing would surprise me at this point, Benny. Like I said, we were lied to growing up in school, being told that Adolf Hitler killed himself in Germany at the end of World War II, when in reality, he escaped and lived in Argentina for 20 more years. So the real problem here is all the narratives are falling away. People are very smart, and they're looking into everything and trying to find the truth on many different issues. And this just happens to be one of them.
And we've talked about this Adolf Hitler thing. There's I believe CIA document and then FBI documents that say that the government went in search and tried to find out. The Russians say that they have his skull, but forensic analysis of that skull said it was of a 40-year-old female and not of Adolf Hitler. So, yeah, I guess you got to sit and ask, like, where exactly is the evidence? Okay, so here's the evidence. You're talking about something that happened 70, 80 years ago, okay? Mm-hmm. And even Epstein, you're talking about decades ago, perhaps. What about the Trump assassinations? You've just brought them up in a single answer ago, Congresswoman. Like, where the hell are we on these? Like, so you nearly have civil war. You have world-changing events. There would be no Donald Trump in Riyadh. There would be no world peace happening right now. They tried to murder him. And you have photos of the assassins talking on the phone, doing FaceTime. You have photos of the FBI literally power washing the roofs. And then the guy who tried to kill Trump on his golf course, trying to get Ukrainian munitions, RPGs and Stinger missiles from Ukraine, smuggled across our border to kill Trump. Like, it seems like this should be clearly the biggest story on earth, but no one wants to talk about it. Is there any motion in Congress to get this information? Where'd this all go?
All right, well, exactly right. A Ukrainian agent tried to kill Trump on his own golf course. I mean, how about that? And then Thomas Crooks, every ounce of information about him is wiped clean after he somehow became such a great shooter that he shot President Trump in the ear, laying on a roof just so many feet away from many Secret Service agents and police officers, nearly killed Donald Trump on a world stage, just like John F. Kennedy was killed during a parade on a world stage on camera for everyone to see. So, you know, there are a lot of questions there's a lot of answers that the American people deserve to hear, and the truth should be told. This wasn't even a year ago this happened, Benny. Yeah. But my point of talking about how, you know, all of these incredible things happen and then they get completely covered up and everything moves on. I mean, we can even talk about how it wasn't even 6 months ago that drones were flying all over New Jersey, that it was UFOs were being talked about constantly. And that, you know, on President Trump's inauguration here in Washington, helicopters were flying in a grid-like pattern looking for possibly nuclear material or some sort of dirty bomb. You know, and then all of a sudden it just falls out of the news cycle. Like, all of these things just fall out of the news cycle, but the American people do not forget.
Final thing, Congresswoman, and we really appreciate your time on this, and this has been a fascinating interview. I have a feeling it's going to go very viral. There is the top news story in the country right now. Jake Tapper deciding to report that Joe Biden was going to be wheelchair bound for his next administration. And that's what they were internally trying to cover up. Going off, Jake Tapper saying on CNN, hey, listen, this was the biggest cover-up in American political history. They lied to everyone. They lied to Congress. They lied to administration officials about Joe Biden's state. I know that you have been on this program for 4 solid years telling the truth about Joe Biden. You might be the most correct person in Washington when it comes to what you've said publicly about Joe Biden. Now you've been proven right. Jake Tapper is a fraud. He would have never done this, I think, personally, if Donald Trump wouldn't have won. But now that he's won, Jake Tapper can make money off it. So what's your take on all of this? Did you hear any of this? And you're famous for coming on the program and saying that Joe Biden soiled himself on a foreign trip. So again, you were right. You were right.
All right, so I just want to say Jake Tapper is so brave. Isn't he so brave? I mean, here he is. He wrote a book after the fact, and now he's the truth teller. Jake Tapper's a damn liar, and all he is profiting off of his lies. He's part of the cover-up with all the other Democrats for 4 years. Everybody knew that Joe Biden has dementia. Everybody knew that he could not, maintain his bowels or any of his bathroom habits. Everybody knew that he should not be president, and they all lied and they all covered it up, and they all did it together, which should be the thing that scares the American people most. Is these people in lockstep will lie to your face every single day and tell you something that is a complete lie and that to be true, and the media will do it with them. And if anybody thinks the Democrat Party has changed, I'm going to flat out tell you this Democrat Party has not changed a single ounce, even after they got whooped in the November 2024 election. They still are exactly who they are. If they get back in power, they are going to weaponize the Department of Justice, and it's going to be much worse than it was last time. They're going to rip our borders wide open. They're going to demand the release of every single cartel member in the jail in El Salvador, and they will fly them directly to the United States of America. And they will continue on, and they'll go right back to the climate insanity and destroy the oil and gas industry and fossil fuel energy. And this is who the Democrats are. And they have not changed their colors. They have not learned a lesson. And they are going to stick together again and go right back to their ways if America allows them the chance. But let's add this, Benny. We haven't fixed our elections. And that's the part that bothers me most is Republicans are in charge, but yet Republicans refuse to call another census and count the Americans in this country, citizens only, and redraw district lines based on American citizenship, not on total population numbers. And until the Republicans are daring and brave enough to do something like this, our country and our elections will absolutely be stolen again. And Democrats will undo all of President Trump's great executive orders because Republicans have not codified them into law. And so my warning to everyone is you better start holding people accountable. People that you voted for, hold us all accountable, and also demand that Republicans be a lot more brave and courageous than they're being right now.
That's exactly right. An inability to disavow Monica McIver and her despicable actions on camera is just such weakness. But then you're right. Democrats have 20 extra seats because of criminal aliens.
Well, and not only that, Benny, we got a problem in Wisconsin. That Supreme Court justice won in Wisconsin. So the Wisconsin Supreme Court is controlled by the left now, and they have filed a lawsuit to basically change the district lines in Wisconsin. We'll lose 2 House seats on that. And the same thing can happen in North Carolina, because now the North Carolina Supreme Court is left. It's held by the Democrats, and all they need is a lawsuit in North Carolina, and they can redraw district lines in North Carolina, and we will lose more seats just by Democrats controlling those state Supreme Courts.
Republicans are so unbelievably weak. We don't use this word to describe anyone in Congress or serving. We'll use it to describe Marjorie Taylor Greene. Fearless. She's a fearless. She's fearless in how she speaks. She's fearless in what she does, and she actually delivers for the American people. Please follow her. Make sure that we're giving power to those who fight for us. 1.5 million Americans follow Marjorie Taylor Greene. Millions across all social media platforms. Make sure that you're, again, giving power to the people who are fighting for us. And she does have the most epic cover photo there of anyone in Congress. You and Tucker and Trump at the golf.
That's my politics.
That's the spectrum. This is the allowable spectrum of politics. Right.
That's it.
Godspeed, Congressman. Thank you. Congresswoman, thank you so much.
Thanks, Benny.